very patient, I know. Anyway, here are the food producers, people with all the skills and talents that are going to transform the rest of Ireland as well as Kinsale. Nice to see you, Caroline. How are you doing? And Dad here.
So I'm just going to introduce, I've been talking all day, so I have no intention of making any speeches. I'm Isabel Sutton, and I'm involved in Transition Towns Kinsale. And there's leaflets up there to tell you all about it. I won't tell you about it now, but it's just a community group trying to get everyone together to try and make Kinsale a more self-sufficient town. And we've had a spring fair all day today, which was a huge success, and our minister very kindly agreed to come down for the day, and he's been to every school and college here, and he's met loads of people. But he particularly wanted to meet the local food producers in Kinsale. So the people here are all very local people, all producing their own food or selling the food in country markets, and have been very anxious to meet you, because everybody I invited said they would love to come, and they all came, which was great. So I'd like to hand you over to our Minister for Food and Horticulture, Trevor Sargent.
Thank you. I really want to talk to each individual person, to be honest, as much as possible. So I'd say as little as possible at this point, because it's only stopping me from talking individually to you. But just to say that Kinsale obviously is something of an icon in terms of food in Ireland. So I want to just hear suggestions, because, for example, I'm dealing with Minister Micheál Martin over the Casual Trading Act. John Gormley, of course, is great to have as a colleague, because in the Department of Environment, through that close working relationship, got a conference of local authority managers together, and overall we're working closely, and then with Eamon Ryan in the Department of Energy as well. The whole energy area, when it comes to a transition town, is very central as well. Given that food production is going to really need to be localised, and relocalisation to counteract globalisation is a very fundamental test for how we're going to reduce energy consumption. So food obviously is the big one, although it seems to be under the radar for a lot of people, except those really involved in the food industry. But more and more people are appreciating how much energy it takes to create the industrial food system that has become the mainstream, but which will quickly not be the mainstream when it becomes so unaffordable, given the amount of energy it requires to keep going. And what are we going to do then? And that's really when the likes of Kinsale will really become the mecca for people who are saying, don't just talk to me about the solution, tell me how it can be done. And Kinsale obviously has got a huge amount to offer in that regard. But ultimately we have at the moment about 130 farmers markets. I'm constantly trying to add to that. I was doing our horticultural awards last night in City West, talking to farmers, some very large commercial farmers, some smaller farmers, essentially saying to farmers who were involved in the specialty food sector and who are operating directly through farmers markets, to talk to other farmers, because it's one thing that has been mentioned often, is that farmers markets tend to be places where you find very few farmers. It seems a bit strange, but that is something I intend to change, and I want to ensure that it's not over-regulated, but that it is certainly of a standard, so that the customer is assured that what they get is essentially what is being, that a farmer's market is a farmer's market, and that it has all the specialty food sector represented in it as well. So, as a Minister for Food and Horticulture, my work is to reflect, hopefully, what you feel needs to be done in government. So that's what I'm here for. And I want to thank you for gathering and waiting for so long.
I open the session by asking a question which concerns, I think, everyone here and bewilders me. When some of us travel to, say, France or Italy and go to the farmers' markets or the country markets there, we can buy product which is, as far as I can understand from people in this room, is virtually criminalized in this country because it hasn't been homogenized and basically de-goodized due to some ghastly EU law which previous ministers of agriculture have been hugely supporting in the defence, I understand from gossip, of the likes of Kerrygold, Mitchelstown, wherever, the huge conglomerates who process this, process that, process the other. And it offends me that I can't buy a product in this country that I can buy in France or Italy, because they've been, is the word derogated? They've got derogation, and we haven't. And
there has been differences, yeah, and the way that EU regulations have been interpreted. Part of the reason for that, apart from maybe some level of obstinacy on the part of some continental producers, which fair play to them has shown us maybe how things can be done. A lot of the reason has been that government policy in Ireland traditionally has been very focused on exports and how markets reflect or are affected by how we market here has been a cause of considerable sensitivity, which has relegated the local needs and I think probably the local food culture to secondary consideration when the export market has been given preeminence. And we know that from the likes of BSE and foot and mouth, where because we're an exporting country to a larger extent than the likes of France now, for example, or any other EU member state when it comes to meat and dairy produce particularly, we have been very reluctant to book the letter of the law as it applies, for fear that our market customers will take their business somewhere else. So we've been a bit hesitant about that. So it has stopped us from being a bit bold and brazen, as you might experience in the French example. I think there's been a bit of a copping on, though, to that perception, and helped, I have to say, by some people in this room, and the likes of Doreen Allen, who have pointed out the nonsense of some of the, the very bureaucratic stipulations that have been excessive and really designed for the industrial scale operation.
Is that changing? Is that going to change?
It is. Yeah, there is a reality check going on.
Good.
And it's taking account of exactly where you're coming from, Andrew.
No.